Yo, what's up, guys? This is, of course, your boy Burner here along with Josh.
What up?
And today, guys, we're going to go over probably one of the more exciting games of the weekend. I would say Tottenham-Chelsea obviously took the cake.
Yep.
And then we're also going to talk about the best of the rest, right? Because there was a lot of games that happened this past week.
Yep.
So we're going to get right into it in just a second. But before we do, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Again, all that stuff just helps out the channel a lot, and we want to continue to grow this channel. Can we get to the magic 50 subscribers by the end of this month? It'll be a tough challenge, but I'm excited for you guys to break that record for us. So without further ado, let's get right into the game.
Let's get right in the news.
And first, of course, we got to talk about Chelsea-Tottenham, the hot-blooded coaches of Tuchel and Conte.
Yep.
Led right into a probably particularly great game in some sense. Does this change your mind at all about any player, or maybe not player, but team in particular? Like, does this change your mind about Chelsea? Does this change your mind about Spurs? I mean, at the end of the day, who do you think really won or lost this game?
I think it's a pretty 50-50 split here. I think the people that want it normally go into these games and think, oh, Tottenham, like they always think they're good, but like they're never up to the quality of like these other maybe top 2-3 clubs in the Premier League. I feel like they definitely show that they can hang and that they belong where they are. Kane getting his goal, I think, is really good for him off the mark. I think for Chelsea, I think that maybe, I don't want to say maybe people are being harsh on them to start the season, but I think that obviously they're going to be a very tough team to beat. As Liverpool fans, we saw like, I think 4 games last year and in ties. So obviously, like on their day, they're going to be very tough to beat. I think that with their signings with Koulibaly and Cucurella, who looked really good yesterday, I think that they'll be in all of the games they can be in. It just comes down to like kind of what we said before at the beginning of the season, if they have enough goals.
Yeah.
And I feel like 2 goals coming from Reece James and Koulibaly, I don't necessarily know if that's a sustainable way for them to get their goals, obviously, but
yeah,
I think coming out of the game, I think Tottenham should be probably more pleased with it, considering now they're like probably dead on locks for top 4. And like if they can hang with the Chelseas and the Man Cities and the Liverpools, I think that they can easily fend off the rest of the clubs to really get top 4. And then for Chelsea, I think they kind of settled maybe a couple of the qualms you had in the preseason about like, do they have enough firepower to really contend with the top 3, top 4 teams? And so I think that a draw benefits both teams. I think that Tottenham will probably be on the little bit more positive side of this draw.
Yeah, I mean, like when I look at it from just kind of thinking about the game from yesterday to today, I think that this was probably a bigger statement game from Chelsea, just from the fact that if you think about the biggest questions were, defensively we were questioning them. Even with the Koulibaly signing, I think there were some people that were thinking, is it enough?
Yeah, I mean, losing Rudiger and Christensen, who were great.
Yeah, so I think that at times kind of silenced a little bit of the qualms. But at the same time, I think it just also opens up the conversation because you did get rid of those 2 guys. I still think that they need one more person. Silva can't play all the games, I think, for them to really be successful. But I think in terms of the Tottenham side, I think that this also... this is a win for Tottenham. I think from the fact that, every year that you've been kind of competitive or taken this new approach of, we are now approaching the top 6, all that stuff, top 4, trying to get in that conversation. They continue to get their foots and they continue to get the door knocked down, or they continue to fall down.
Just a peg below.
But I think this was a great response from the fact that you had a team that I didn't really think that they played particularly well. I thought that they had some decent chances. But, the Højbjerg and the Kane chance, and I know there's going to be a lot of complaints about the way that the refereeing went in that game, and rightfully so, I think, for some of the extent, especially the Cucurella hair pulling. I think you cannot allow this game, or allow that in the game, and the ref was staring right at it.
Well, especially then Tottenham score off that ensuing corner kick, so it's like that could have changed the whole momentum of the game.
Yeah, and so I think from that perspective, I think Tottenham is lucky to get off of the point, but at the same time, that's sometimes what you need as a team. Sometimes,
and Tottenham also need those points against these top teams to really elevate themselves up the table.
Yeah, exactly. And so, they'll win against, your Southamptons and games and teams like that. But the question now becomes, can they win against or draw even against the Chelseas or the, Arsenal's, Liverpool's, your Man Cities? I mean, those are going to be the bigger question marks and tests coming forward.
Yeah. And I will also say that I think that it'll be interesting for Chelsea what happens, because I believe Conte came off injured in this game.
Yeah.
So I think that it'll be interesting to see if Gallagher gets a bigger role or going forward, if like how that Chelsea midfield is going to play now, because I feel like we already have some questions about their forward line, and now that their midfield is a little bit dwindling down, I wonder if some of these players are going to step up into those roles, or maybe it will shift around the tactics and change a little bit of how that'll end up playing. Also, I mean, I thought Cucurella was good. I just find that I think it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out with Chilwell, whether Cucurella maybe splits time at left center back, or then Silva gets a rest, or they play along the same side, or see how that pairing ends up working out.
Yeah.
But I gotta ask you, Bernie, what do you make of the whole Conte and Tuchel situation? You know, after the goal, after the second Chelsea goal, Tuchel runs across Conte to celebrate in the corner, and then at the full-time whistle, they get into a little bit of scuffle. I'm gonna ask, what was your opinion on that?
I think
was someone directly in the wrong, or you say it's both sides of the coin, or what are you saying?
I think it's both sides of the coin. I mean, we'll pull up the image here of just kind of
what happened,
the craziness that was this game. I think for me, I think that Tuchel, I understand, like, you know, Conte is a very passive aggressive dude. Like, he's a guy that obviously, you know, he had his Twitter fingers out last night, or
he's a hard man though. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah. He's a hard man, but I think he can be passive aggressive at times. I think, to me, it's got to be Tuchel, man. I'm tired of, you know, I think Tuchel is a good coach or a great manager, and I think tactics wise, I think this dude gets it. But I just feel like this is now what, the 4th or 5th team he's been on, where it's kind of been. I just feel like Tuchel is getting that reputation of a short stint because of how, I think,
and then at PSG
and at PSG and Dortmund, and
he rubs people the wrong way.
Even at Mainz, I think I think there was a player that had an issue with him because he was a little bit more of a dictator.
And that makes sense. I can see that.
And so I think, like, when I really see that from Tuchel, you know, he needs to be weary of it, because I think that's kind of his reputation at this point is, you know, come in for a short minute, and then now, you know,
a little bit
hot-headed, and then at the end of the day, the players get tired of you. You know, they get tired of listening to your voice. And obviously, between these two guys, I think Tuchel probably the bigger problem for me, just from the fact that, you know, you had Conte. Just, you know, for some reason it was okay at the beginning of the game, and then now it's sort of where it's at right now. Again, Tuchel going over across from Conte. I mean, if we want to talk about staying in your technical area,
stay in your lane, bro.
That, to me, like, I can't deal with that. Like, just switch ends then if you want to be on that side. I don't know.
I think it's a little bit for Tuchel. It's kind of both two sides of the same coin. Where on one side, I feel like you can come out of the situation being like, all right, you know, I respect Tuchel a little bit more. Like, he's not going to take stick from anyone. He's really putting his, like, nose in front of other, like, big managers. Like, he's not afraid of Conte. He's not afraid of Klopp. He's not afraid of some of these guys. Like, he's going toe-to-toe with them, so he's trying to gain people's respect in that nature. But on the other hand, I just think that, like, he's doing too much. Yeah. Like, running across a coach when it's 2-1 and there's still plenty of the game left. Like, if it's a 90th minute winner, then I'm like, okay, you know what? That's fair. But I think giving Conte the ammunition at the end of the game, especially after they equalized the 95th minute or whatever it was, to then come across and be like, all right, now we're going to, you know, like, I don't feel like you deserve my respect. And I feel like that's kind of what Conte came across at the end. And then so Tuchel's like, no, you're going to look me in my eyes. And then, like, obviously it escalates from there.
Yeah.
And so on one hand, I think you can give Tuchel a little bit of respect. But on the other hand, I think for some reason we've already elevated Tuchel to that, like, Klopp, Guardiola, you know, like Ancelotti level, when, like, I just don't think that he's really earned that level of tier, or he hasn't earned that coaching tier yet, I feel like. So on one hand, I think also Conte, like, if there's one manager in the Prem I'm probably not messing with, it's probably him. I mean, obviously you're not messing with, like, a Vieira, who's gonna, like, you know, still probably could play from that Crystal Palace team. But, like, Conte's probably the second manager. I'm probably like, yeah, never mind. I'm gonna take my jibes and I'm just gonna leave him on his way. But obviously both managers probably in the wrong. Both probably think they're somewhat right, but a big whole debacle for, you know, no game.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a 2-2 draw. It's not something where
it's not like a 36th game of the season where, like, stuff is decided. It's like second game of the season.
Second game of the season. Again, it's exciting. I think that this is something that
entertainment value up.
Entertainment. I think this is something that if you're a person who's not really a soccer fan, I think that this is probably the best game to watch.
Yep, I agree.
Just from the sense of it was a little bit more aggressive than I think most of the games that we saw. Even just watching our Liverpool game, a little bit more aggressive at times. And so I think when I see that, I think that's what gets people that aren't really soccer or football fans to go watch soccer or to get into it, because I think I think everyone's a passion merchant at the end of the day, and so
true.
And so I think like when we see that stuff, we get riled up. We're like, damn, that was a good game.
And you want other people to experience
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of the time when you see games end in draws, you're like, oh, boring draw,
Yeah.
whatever. But I will also, last thing I'll say on this as well, that I think it's pretty interesting that like one of the most probably exciting games of the season was where both teams played essentially 5-to-back.
Yeah.
And so it's like just because you play 3 or 5-to-back doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be boring or you like to sit in.
Yeah.
And especially with these teams with how much talent they have, they're obviously going to get forward and get their chances. But
yeah,
it's a nice little tactical insight.
Yeah. And let us know, Chelsea fans or Tottenham fans, how you felt about this game. Did you feel like you won? Did you feel like you lost? Let us know in the comment section down below. And again, who are you taking in a game 7? Are you taking Tuchel or are you taking Conte?
If you're taking Tuchel, I don't know what to say, bro.
Let us know in the comment section down below. And let's move on to
let's wrap up the rest of the week,
Yeah, rest of the
week. It was a good week of soccer.
It was a great week of soccer. Where should we go first?
I mean, let's just go down the list, right in order.
Aston Villa, Everton. Again, this game I watched somewhat extensively, not really too much. I think that this was definitely a good win for Aston Villa. Needed it after a lot of questions were being asked. I think Steven Gerrard's head was being put on a pike if they didn't win this game.
It was about to be there. They were placing it, and they took it off. They're like, all right, we needed the win. You got the win. And now we'll see where the season goes from here.
Yeah, and so, looking at it as well from Everton's perspective, I said last week, maybe it's not so bad, but it's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. They have no striker.
And, you're definitely going to need some goals there.
Yeah, I mean, even Anthony Gordon, who played their striker in this game, might be going to Chelsea on a £40 million bid. So,
jeez.
I mean, if it wasn't already bad enough for Everton at this point, with the lack of like really impact forward thinking signings they've made, I feel like if they brought in Dwight McNeil, but he's not really like a forward-minded player. Yeah. So I feel like if they're going to really have any like type of push for this season, they need to go out and spend decent on a striker. But again, like that comes back to the thing where there doesn't seem like there's that many strikers in world football. No. Like, especially not like of the upper echelon ones where like that are going to really come in and hit the ground running. And so like you kind of got to do a little bit more work on that end. So if Everton don't sign a striker, I feel like they could be in pretty big trouble to where their season's going to go.
Ronaldo?
They might need to sign Ronaldo. I mean, I don't know if Ronaldo's going to be playing in the championship next season, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, let us know in the comment section down below of this game. This is a good game for Aston Villa, getting those
much needed points.
And let's move on to the next game. We got
Newcastle.
Newcastle. I think Newcastle was in this very ugly lime green jersey last time.
I mean, I think that this is just this is kind of one of the talking points for Newcastle this season was they brought in like Botman and they have stability and they've had like a pretty good since Eddie Howe's came over, they've played really well. But it again comes down to like kind of like I just said with Everton, they don't have the goal, they don't have the strikers, they don't have the goals, they don't have the guaranteed striker that's gonna like take a 0-0 to make it a 1-0. And so I think that's gonna be the thing with Newcastle is that they're gonna be in every game. I feel like that they play. It's just I don't know if they're gonna have the goals necessarily to really elevate them to maybe that like 6, 7, 8 range.
Yeah.
Over like some of these other teams that just have more clinical goal scorers. And like as much as you like Callum Wilson, like I believe he scored last weekend too. It's just I don't think you can rely on him to be your goal scorer if you're really trying to make a push for a Europa League spot.
Yeah, and I think this was also a good result for Brighton, being able to be in a 0-0 draw after winning last week. So definitely the momentum for Brighton going forward is definitely high. I'm not sure who they play next week, and we'll probably take a look at that in the prediction show. But I kind of like we talked about with Brighton. Graham Potter, we're big fans,
big star.
And so you can clearly see that this team is playing hard for him. And again, I like what I'm seeing from them. I think that they can continue this run of form. They could potentially get a Europe spot, maybe.
That'd be a bit of a stretch, but I don't disagree. I think that they can. I think with the football that they play, I just don't know if they have the player quality on a player-to-player basis to do it. But
yeah, all right. Let's move on to the next game we got. I wish it was staying there.
Arsenal
Leicester. We talked about them already. Check out that video. It's got a separate one. Let's go to Manchester City versus Bournemouth. A pretty
standard affair.
Standard affair.
Even after Bournemouth lost last week, I don't think they could come into this game expecting too much from their team.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the only talking points you really have off this game is Haaland's real impact, or you could say lack of impact on the game.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's kind of like the lay of the land with those type of strikers. Like they're doing so much work and doing so much runs off the ball to really open up space for their other players that like there's going to be games where Haaland doesn't touch the ball more than like 10 times. I think in this game, maybe he only touched it 7 times, I think I saw. Yeah. So you're gonna have those. I mean, even one of those 7 touches was an assist. So just because he's not on the ball all the time, not really involved in the play, doesn't mean he's not opening up the space for Foden, for your Gundogan or your Mahrez or these other players, De Bruyne. And so I think that kind of also shows that Holland doesn't really even need to like super be involved in the play to impact the game. And so like that's kind of where I think Pep has done a really good job of adapting to like a true number 9 striker that allows his other players that they've been playing with together for years at this point to really open up for each other and then create chances for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, nothing much more to say about this game. Man City got the job done against Bournemouth.
De Bruyne class.
Easy game for them.
Yep.
Let's go to the next game. We got
Southampton Leeds.
2-2 draw. I think that this was I thought they could have done a little bit better here for Leeds. I think if you're Leeds, I think you're left a little bit disappointed, especially because the way that Southampton this season are looking much less and less like a pretty good team, and maybe relegation candidates.
I wouldn't go that far, but they definitely probably lower mid-table.
Lower mid-table, and Leeds trying to make that push. Rodrigo obviously scored the goals.
2 goals, good form for him.
Good form from him. Bamford
coming off injured.
Yeah,
that'll be a struggle. So I've heard that Leeds fans or they might be interested in signing another striker and maybe another center mid or an outside back. So I think that I don't think they're going to be American. I think they've already filled their quota on that. I think, but I think as good as Rodrigo's been, I feel like if Bamford is out for an extended period of time, they probably will need to sign a new striker. I mean, again, I thought Aronson didn't impact the game as much this game, but I think he still looks dangerous. Jack Harrison, good. Rodrigo, obviously 2 goals, starting the season off really well compared to the last couple seasons where he's been a little bit underwhelming per se. But I think for Leeds, I feel like they can just keep accruing these early points, not taking losses against teams they shouldn't lose to. I think they can still make a push for that top half of the table. And Southampton, nice to see Joe Aribo on the score sheet, new signing. Having my FPL team. He's one for the future. I think he's going to be good for them going forward, especially if they end up selling Adams or whatnot. But
Walker Peters,
honestly, pretty good. I think if England's right back position wasn't so super loaded, I feel like he would be in the running for those spots. But just with how England's position is, I feel like he probably doesn't have a chance per se. But
and for American fans, let us know how you're feeling about this Leeds team. Obviously, this is your team.
This is your club.
This is your club. So let us know how they did in the comment section down below. Now let's move on to the next game. We got Wolverhampton, Fulham. Pretty mid game.
I didn't really watch this one. Let me know. What do you think? Just give me baselines.
I felt like there were some great chances. I think Wolves had one good chance that they should have capitalized on. Okay. But at the same time, I just think Mitrovic missed a penalty. I think that's another big talking point. And so, this game wasn't necessarily the best game to watch if you're looking for goals or anything. I mean,
man of the match was the goalkeeper, so whenever that happens, it's not too much is happening from forward line.
Yeah,
but although I think I will say just a quick further, I think that a point for Fulham, kind of like I said for Leeds, if you can just keep accruing these early points in the season, good for them. Obviously a better point for Fulham than for Wolves, but that's how it is.
Yeah, and I think from this perspective too, I think Wolves get a point. Didn't really affect the game too much, but you can't ask too much from your keeper saving a penalty from Mitrovic. So
last thing I'll say on this is that I think it's gonna be interesting to see Goncalo Guedes being introduced a little bit more, new signing from Valencia, I want to say. So if he can, I think if he starts on the right, Neto on the left, Hwang Hee-chan up front, that'll be a nice front three for Wolves going forward.
Yeah, and let's move on to the next game. We got
talked about Brentford
already.
Nottingham Forest,
West Ham.
We both watched this one.
Yeah, this was the goal that they got from Awoni. Very lucky.
Lucky. Not the most beautiful goal in the world, but you can't all be beautiful.
Yeah, no, acting like he scored this crazy banger after he celebrates. Hey. But I thought that this was a great win for Nottingham Forest. Obviously with the major signings that they made this past season.
Major is in Nico Williams. Look at that 8.6 match rating. What a player.
I think he's going to be a crucial, vital part to this team going forward.
Even after signing 30 players?
Yeah, even after signing. I mean, I just think when you think about Williams at this point, trying to get a bid to play for Wales.
Mm-hmm. And he plays the forward for Wales too, so.
And so you think about it, I think that he really wants to get that game time that he's been wanting.
Good for him, honestly, yep.
And so, obviously with him going to Nottingham Forest, you can clearly see that he has a very impactful
impact on the game,
impact on the game, and so you can clearly see by the way that the match rating is. But I just think you can see, I think he had the most touches, most shots on goal, things like that. I mean, he had a lot of stats, and so when you have that going for you, you're bound to get one of those cheeky goals that Avoni scored.
Yeah, I think that first thing I'll say about this is I thought Nottingham Forest atmosphere was incredible.
Yeah,
I think obviously I can't remember the last time they're in the Prem, but I think it was a long time ago, obviously.
Yeah.
So their atmosphere is incredible. I think that that's only going to help them going forward, especially with how many players that they've signed.
Yeah,
and I think that like I talked about this a little bit before. Well, before I say that, but Dean Henderson, obviously, like really good performance. West Ham should have scored like 3, 4, 5 goals.
Yeah,
Just unreal stage from him. And then I will say that I think if Nottingham Forest can stay in the Prem this season, do whatever it takes, I think that they can really build on this and then vault themselves to maybe like the new Wolves. Yeah. Whereas like Wolves came in and now they're pretty much like a lock for anywhere from like 8th to 12th.
Yeah.
And I think with like the amount of signings that Nottingham Forest has made and the amount of like potential turnover they have in their squad to like really bolster them going forward, I think they'll have the depth to compete season on season, and they can really build on this. And then so long term, I feel like their future is good if they can stay in the league. And then short term, obviously like a really good win against West Ham. And then on the flip side of that coin, West Ham.
It's looking bad.
Little shaky, I'm not gonna lie. I think that we both predicted them to finish top 7 in that 7th spot.
Yeah,
really pushing for that top 6, and I'm not gonna write them off already completely because I feel like that's a bit stupid because they played Man City, and then you're gonna have your rare games against your newly promoted teams. Like that atmosphere is gonna be one of one for that game. So Declan Rice missing a penalty, not great. Skamaka getting his first bit of game time, like real game time, didn't really impact the game too much in any way. And then obviously like Rice missing the penalty, which kind of like sealed, like just kind of ended the game for them, I feel like, at that point. But West Ham, I'm gonna say I'm a little worried, but I still think they're gonna turn around.
Yeah, I think I'm more worried about them just from the fact that, you know, David Moyes has continued to say they look tired, they need more reinforcements, and when you have a coach that's saying that publicly out loud, that's a bit of a concern for me to think like, okay, they need to start either looking for some answers or they need to start
just up their game.
Because I just think that for West Ham to get the top 7, which we predicted, they need to do a lot better job. I think this might be the time to, as soon as Kamaka is healthy,
really put him in there.
Put him in there, and I think it's time to take off Antonio and make him a super sub.
Yeah.
You know,
save his legs too.
Save his legs, and you know, when you look at Antonio, he had really one bad mishap, which is just decking a guy.
Yeah. Quick last thing on this. What was your thought on that whole incident? Foul, no foul? Should the goal have stood?
I think the goal should have stood. I mean, again, it's kind of one of those things where in sports, you know, something happened
off the play. Everyone looks at it.
Everyone looks at it, and just to me, it
takes away from what's
it's
happening.
Just retroactively refereeing it when it's just it shouldn't be like that. It should just be whatever the ref decides. Again, I understand we have VAR, and you know a lot of people are like, oh, you know, let's make robot refs and things like that.
Yeah, but
that's just again. It's the beauty and the frustration of having human error in any type of sport, whether it's basketball, whether it's soccer, whether it's football. That stuff is bound to happen. You're bound to get a bad call.
Yeah.
Just like you're bound to have a coach call a bad play or have a player have a bad performance.
Yeah.
There's levels to this.
There's levels, partner.
There's levels. And the fact that I think a lot of fans are blindsided by the fact that the refs have to be 100% perfect all the time is an unrealistic expectation of the refs. It's an unrealistic expectations of, you know, we even talked about Liverpool today, you know, not really great performance, right?
Yep.
You know, are we going to be mad and, you know, get frustrated? Yeah. But at the same time, we understand that it's human error. And, you know, not saying like that's the excuse at all for the way that, you know, we played today. But I just think that we can't just go back and retroactively go to the past and say, hey, this happened, so X can't happen.
Yeah, this happened over here, so what was going on over here, that can't happen anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's also just going to be one of those things where if you're a West Ham fan, you're going to feel slighted. If you're a Nottingham Forest fan, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, clear foul.
Yeah.
So it's just how it is. Unfortunate how it turned out, obviously, for West Ham, but
yeah,
should have played better. Just like Liverpool, should have played better.
Should have played better, and I think that's it for in terms of games.
Yep.
For this, so you know, before we kind of get out of here, I guess what was kind of your match of the week for this
match of the week? I feel like obviously Chelsea Tottenham. Storyline of the week, definitely the Manchester United game, but I think Chelsea Tottenham played the best, most entertaining game. But I think that the game with most ramifications coming out this week is definitely that Manchester United Brentford game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Match of the game has to be the Chelsea Tottenham game, just for the fact of the storyline of both Conte and Tuchel. I think you're gonna now see that a little bit more played into by the media. So I think that's gonna be a lot of fun. And I would say I give my match of the week to Nottingham Forest. I'm giving it to them.
That's fair. I like that.
I just think that again, if obviously I could go top 6, you could go with your Arsenal,
Whatever's, yeah.
you
Your
go-
Liverpool's,
your
Chelsea's.
Chelsea's. But I really like the way Nottingham Forest played. Again, maybe
Big win.
against a team that a lot of people expected, like us included,
Top 7, yeah.
top 7 in contention, but didn't happen for them. And Nottingham Forest got the win. And like you said, if they can continue that form of run and stay in the Prem, they can be
built off for years. Yeah, I agree.
off for years. So let us know in the comment section down below. What was your match of the week? What was your dud of the week? And also, game with the biggest ramifications. I know for some people could say the Arsenal game. Some people could say the Aston Villa game, Liverpool game, even.
Yep.
But
let us know.
Let us know in the comment section down below. Anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie.
I'm Josh.
We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.
Peace.